And we're live. Welcome back, everybody. Dip Catcher Radio back again. What an exciting time. PulseChain is live. About 2 years from when it was first kind of entering the lexicon, it was just over 2 years ago that the Ethereum developers updated something to a opcode called the S load, which is load from storage, and that caused the hex staking gas cost to increase by about 3x. And at the time, there was a lot of NFT stuff, a lot of DeFi stuff, and that during that time, the gas fees were really high. And also, I mean, it was at a time where a bunch of new EVM layer ones were becoming really popular. And so Richard decided that his next product after Hex was going to be a fork of Ethereum. So that discussion got started in, I think, around like March or April of 2021. Then, we had the sacrifices, and then the first cycle of development, which was actually a BSC fork. And then they decided to scrap that about 8 months ago to simply fork the new version of Ethereum that happened after the merge. And on May 10th was actually the fork date. It opened to the public on about 1 day and 16 hours later. And thus we have PulseChain, a fork of Ethereum where the system state was copied over. So it's been dubbed the world's largest airdrop because all the tokens you had on Ethereum, you now have on PulseChain. And so it's a pretty exciting moment. The haters said it would never happen, and it did. So congratulations to Richard. Congratulations to everyone involved. And congratulations to everyone who's been tagging along for the ride, waiting for this moment, because it is finally here. So PulseChain introduces a lot of new dynamics to our ecosystem. We have, now every token that we care about, we now have a second version of, where this version on PulseChain is entirely independent of the one on Ethereum. And then soon, maybe in the next couple hours, we will then have the bridge that will allow us to, transport our tokens between the two chains. And then we can have the cross-chain asset copy price discovery happening on PulseX. So I think that's really this. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, really going back to when the idea of PulseChain was coming out, because probably like the lowest common denominator sales pitch that everyone kind of understands, even like a new user, they understand like the low fees. But fees are really a function of demand for the blocks. And so if there's high demand for the blocks, the fees are just naturally going to be higher. But really the big opportunity with PulseChain is the layer one for DeFi. And then also I think like the secret sauce of PulseChain is really leaning into the copy the assets and the cross-chain markets, where price discovery between your original version on Ethereum and then your corresponding copy on PulseChain, where those can be traded against each other, price discovery can take place. And so that's really what I think the secret sauce, like the big opportunity of all this is. And the fees, I think, are secondary. The fees are probably the thing that people can initially latch onto if you're a new user, but really the secret sauce is cross-chain market stuff. So once this bridge opens up, we're a lot of questions are going to be answered. Like, what is the price of P-Hex versus E-Hex? And what is the price of, P-Maxi versus E-Maxi? Because P-Hex versus E-Hex, that's measuring the value of liquid hex on PulseChain versus the liquid hex on Ethereum today. And P-Hex or P-Maxi and E-Maxi, that's measuring the value of 15-year staked hex across the two chains. And so I think a lot of information about what the market thinks is going to be happening will be taking place on that price chart. So who knows? That's That's the big question is what's going to unfold. But that's really what I'm looking forward to is the cross chain markets, being able to watch these assets, trade and really see how the market, assesses the value of the E tokens and the P tokens. So really exciting stuff. Let's see what the chat has to say. Name is in the house. Always first to join the chat. What's up, Name? What's up, Belgian Hexagon? Hit the like button, everyone, and congrats to all who sacrificed delayed gratification for PulseX. It's our time now. Gladiators for the win. That's right. Keen for the bridge so we can catch the dips. Oh, yeah. What if Hexagon's exciting times? Pool party. Yeah, we'll talk about pool party here in just a minute. Mackenzie says, woohoo. MT Coiner says, what's up, Dipcatcher? What's up, MT? What a time to be alive. The party's already even got started. What's going to happen to my LP after the bridge opens? So, do you mean on your LP token on Ethereum? Well, if you had a liquidity position on the Ethereum side that didn't get eaten up by the AMM bot, then I mean, you already have access to your LP position there. I don't know how much trading will actually take place of either the ERC20 token that represents the liquidity pool position for the V1 and V2, or the NFT that represents the position on V3. I don't know how much trading there actually is going to be of those positions. But I think that once the bridge opens, if you're supplying liquidity in the PulseX markets, there's probably going to be a lot more trading volume going on, because right now all the trading is basically limited to the people that sacrificed for Pulse, who have the gas to be able to do, to make trades. And then it also, there's no trading of like E-Hex versus P-Hex right now because the bridge hasn't opened up yet. So probably once that bridge opens up, there will be a lot of trading going on. So probably, I would say the most active markets are probably going to be the E-Hex, P-Hex one. Probably Hedron's going to have trading volume too. The Maximus tokens will probably have a little bit. And probably, I would say eBase versus P-Base will probably, over the next couple of months, have the most trading as it leads up to the redemption window. Because Base was a 1-year stake. It started in October. And so this October will be the redemption phase. And when the redemption phase happens, it's going to be both mintable and redeemable for about 1.1 hex per base. And so the base price measured in hex will kind of yoink up to that level. So probably leading up to that, there's going to be a lot of trading there. And then, I mean, PulseX, Pulse, between all those, bridged in stable coins, probably going to be a lot of trading bridged in stable coins versus Pulse. But who knows? That remains to be seen. Let's party. That's right. Bro, what's your initial price prediction? So it's kind of hard to put a number on it because it's truly impossible to predict. So the things that are working in favor of the PLS price are big holders locking up their coins while they're validating. I think there's something like 4,000 plus validators, and so 4,000 times 32 million, what would that be? So that's something like 128 billion PLS locked up in validating, which, all things considered, it's not that much, but it's active users who are aiming to earn more Pulse. And so perhaps that's a category of users who are less likely to sell immediately as soon as the bridge opens up. Also, all the liquidity that's locked up in the PulseX pool, the PulsePX pool. So those users probably aren't just like looking for instant exit liquidity as soon as it's available. And also, I mean, a lot of people that simply are just hoarding their Pulse, waiting for those big multiples. So that category of users probably just going to hold or keep their tokens locked up in whatever system that they are participating in. So that those things are working in favor of the price. Also, things working in favor of the price are people who missed out on the sacrifices, maybe only heard about all this stuff in the 2 years since then, or I guess year and a half since the sacrifice. So they didn't sacrifice, and they're looking to move value into PulseChain. So those are going to be like net buyers. But there is going to be a category of sellers of PLS. One, the people that are just like down bad on everything and they just need cash, and so they're going to, as soon as their assets are liquid, they're going to be selling. And also people that are going to be, that might have bought PLS, but maybe they're just not going to because they maybe can't tolerate Hex being at 3 cents. So maybe they would have moved value into PulseChain, but then they kind of just can't afford it. So those are people that might have bought, but maybe won't be. So those are kind of the things that are going to be affecting the price, like those different categories of sellers. And it really just comes down to how much is for sale versus how much new value gets bridged in. So I think like right out the gate, it's it's hard to say what the initial price, because the price is always going to be changing. Price will never be constant. But I could see the price going as high as 2-to-1 versus the sacrifice position or value, and also 50% of them. Like I could see a range forming around that sacrifice rate that is quite high. And so, just especially early on, if there's not a lot of liquidity to kind of dampen the big moves in either direction, we could see a whole lot of volatility in a really big trading range that the PLS price goes in. So that remains to be seen. And then from there, I think that it'll probably take maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks for things to kind of, settle out, for price to find floors and liquidity providers to find the levels that it makes sense to supply liquidity to. And then from there, it might get a little bit more stable and perhaps kind of trend upwards. And so, but who knows? It's who really knows? What do you think it'll be? Everyone here, if you're in the chat, reply with your price prediction. So let's put it down. Let's say in the 24 hours after the bridge opens up, what is the highest that the PLS price will go, and what is the lowest that PLS price will be? Your vision of E-Hex in the next 2 to 5 years. I mean, I think that E-Hex is still the leading DeFi reserve asset on Ethereum. So like that, and that doesn't really stop. So, and also, the E-Hex, all the E-Hex that is bridged over to PulseChain, and then perhaps put in the E-Hex versus P-Hex liquidity pool on PulseX to earn the ink token. That E-Hex is not liquid in the sense that it's selling for USDC. Like that's E-Hex that is not in the USDC liquidity pool. And it's also E-Hex that is not staked. And so we could see the E-Hex earnings, and also with how much like early end staking there's been going on since PulseChain launched, we could see really, really high yield on the E-Hex staking, and the perhaps reduced reduced E-Hex staking and E-Hex that might have been in the USDC liquidity pool now over the bridge on that PulseX pair. And so I think that E-Hex is probably, still like the going to be the top reserve asset on Ethereum, because by now E-Hex is in a position where kind of that existential risk is gone. Like no one thinks Hex is going away. By now it's clear that Hex is not a scam. It's great, and it's only grown. And it's gone through, now it's like first full like bull and bear cycle. And so those are things that I think can, perform really well, and things that people will like be settling into. There's always going to be, these like brand new tokens with very low float, very low market cap that can, really just moon. And, there's always going to be people that are trying to go for that high risk, high reward speculation. But for probably like larger money use cases and bigger, kind of more, I think like more sophisticated DeFi users, I think that E-Hex is going to look really attractive to that category of user. And also, how much USDC was extracted, just during the whole bear market, price going down because people are selling, as people that had sold higher now may want to be re-entering. I think that can be a strong catalyst of demand. And then, just as it keeps marching forward and the stake yield is attractive and, we kind of entered in this next cycle. I think the next 2 to 5 years are going to be, pretty positive for E-Hex. But also, so those are things that are affecting E-Hex to the upside. Probably the things that will affect E-Hex to the downside are going to be, I would say around the 5-year mark, which will be from 5-year mark from now is going to be just over like the 7.5-year mark for the Genesis T-share max link stakes. I think a whole lot of stakes are going to be max link stakes are actually going to be early end staked. And so that could potentially be bearish in the short term, because if people are just trying to get out, perhaps some amount of that enters on the sell side. But, all that does is benefit stakers, because, that's 7 years of earnings at T-share rates that were locked in when the T-share rate was about 10,000 hex. So max link stake means you're getting, so the effective T-share rate for a max link stake in year one is something like 3,000 hex per T-share. And so there are a lot of T-shares that fit into that category of user who have been earning yield this whole time, and they have a lot of future projected yield. But at that 7-year mark, even if it especially if it coincides with the bull run, a lot of those users are going to be, early end staking. Some for the gas, because if you end your stake at 7 years, you don't have to do 15 years of calculation. It's only 7 years. And so it's like kind of a gas mitigation technique, especially for smaller stakers. But then also people that just thought that they would want to wait 15 years, but they just can't afford to wait or can't tolerate to wait. And so a lot of those Genesis T-share holders that locked in for 15 years are probably going to be early end staking around the 7-year mark, which will be in about 5 years from now. And so the result of that is going to be a really big cleansing of the T-share pool, because all those stakers that will be early end staking, those were scheduled to be consuming the T-share pool for 7 more years, and now suddenly they're not. And so the yield for all of the people that do continue to stake will go up. And then also the penalties that those stakers will pay, because when you end your stake at about the midway point, you can get out your principal, but you're giving up all of your yield. And so if they're those max link stakes from the Genesis era, those are earning like over 100% APY. And so 7 years of 100% APY is, so about seven. They're going to give up a huge amount of hex that they had earned over that time period, and all that hex is going to just go into the penalties. So half will go to the OA, half goes to the stakers, and so the hex yield is going to be pretty shockingly high during that period of time. So I think that those dynamics are going to be really attractive for, especially as people, because by now I don't think many people really consider that reality. But probably in the next, 2 to 3 years, especially as, maybe we see the 10-year stakes ending in mass at the 5-year mark. Maybe at that time you see a lot of people kind of preparing, locking in stakes by joining, stake pools, because that's like the way to fully capture all that value. So I think that all those things will start to get priced in, both to the upside and to the downside, and will probably level out to, a continued uptrend. But with huge, swings in between them, we'll probably see similar scale of, runs to the upside and runs to the downside. And so, whole lot of stuff. I know some people think that E-Hex is going to kind of fade out, but I mean, that's kind of like maybe small money people, that might be the case. But the big money user, they have a different calculus. And so, and they're not affected by fees, and realistically, high fees that price out small users is even more bullish, because all the hex that can't afford to end stake, that is going to be reduced circulating supply because they can't end the stakes, and so less competition for sellers. And so, the more stakes that are priced out due to fees, it's kind of bullish for hex. And so, that's kind of what I think. But I mean, EX is a powerhouse. It truly is. Folks losing their entire bag thinking they're cashing out for USDC pre-bid. Oh yeah, I know. Maybe they should have done something on the PulseX front end to, like, I mean, maybe they do. I haven't tried to sell for USDC, just because I knew, but perhaps people, could have. They shouldn't, I mean, but also, I mean, you kind of got to be aware too. Like, just think about it. I think it'd be harder for hex and the Maximus coins and pumps to start on two chains, therefore requiring twice the denominators. You make both pump together. I mean, they won't do anything together. They're fully independent, so like the price on PulseChain comes down to the buyers on PulseChain. So it's, those are, they're entirely separate markets. And yeah, I mean, like this copy, it is kind of a big dilution event for everybody, for all assets that are kind of in the know. Maybe not so much for assets where, like, they don't even know about PulseChain. But yeah, I mean, and you saw it in the prices. I mean, immediately the hex price dumped over, it kind of settled out to about 50% to where it was. Same with Hedron, and so, and all the, like all the Maximus coins, their ratios to hex remained kind of constant, but, just like, measured in USD, all the hex bound tokens, those all went down in that same way. And I think that was just, the market kind of preparing for the bridge. And then the question to see will be what happens when the bridge opens up. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a dilution event, which holders of the assets, kind of not broke even, because it remains to be seen what the copy's worth and what the original one continues to be worth. But yeah, I mean, in a way, for all assets that are kind of operating this dual chain, environment, it's like it definitely splits up the economic energy. And I think that can actually have, more of an effect than what people think, because especially with the like the V2 pools, is that, like, a rule of thumb is that when, like, for the liquidity pools, like if you have a buy order that doubles the amount of token A on the buy side, so that double squared, so it 4x's the price. And so because it has that square, like, to the power of 2, like, price impact, every time you double the amount of buy side liquidity, it 4x's the price. Now that you're, if that's now split over 2, like, say you have 100 of coin A and 100 of, so 100 of coin A on ETH and 100 of coin A on Pulse, and then now a buyer comes in, they have, like, 100 of A, to 100 of a value to split over the two. Now it's 50 on one side and 50 on the other. So that won't have the same, like that, those buy, like it won't impact, like a purchase on one doesn't impact it on the other. And if it's split across, then it's lower by that factor of 2 because, just because it requires more economic, like you said, it requires more economic energy to make them both pump together. So, that may be kind of a dampening effect on some things. But still, I mean, the things that are going to attract a lot of demand are going to attract a lot of demand. And then that's going to be the things that pump. Dagron with the $5 tip. Thank you. Dip, can you explain how high gas fees on ETH and Pulse is bullish? Also, we almost hit your, oh my God. Also, when you and Gold Key going to a meetup? I heart Maxi. Thank you, Dagron. So first question, can you explain how high gas fees on both ETH and Pulse is bullish? Also, when 0.007. So high fees are bullish because, one, it prices out a category of sellers. Say you're going to be selling, but then the fees are too high for you to sell. Now you can't sell. So that's bullish in that sense. But also, on the other side of that coin, a buyer who is priced out, it's kind of a wash. So maybe that group of people is a wash. Two, high fees is a signal that the chain is going to be permanent. Because if you think about what a blockchain is, think about a blockchain like a store, and the thing that store sells is block space. And you can use that block space to make transactions and log information that you have high certainty is not going to change and will be there forever. But you can only expect it to be there forever if you believe that people are going to continue to operate the chain. And the only way that people will continue to operate the chain is if it's a profitable activity for them. And so high fees is a signal that the chain will continue to persist. And so I think that's bullish for assets that live on chains with high fees. And so also, I mean, high fees, like especially like if you have PulseChain, high fees is good for you because the fees go, like what happens to the fees when when you so let's read on the PulseChain. Let me pull this up. So, the fees go into validators who, are typically people who, have a lot at stake to, and they want to, run the price up. That's a positive thing. And then let's look at the block explorer. Let's see. Maybe on the numbers here. Okay, I can't find what I was looking for, but high fees are, it's especially because the people that are using that as fees, it's better that they part with their Pulse through fees than by selling it. So I think that's bullish for that. And then for Hex, the like having high fees, like I said earlier, it kind of helps taper the Hex inflation, because the more Hex stakes that are infeasible to end, the less Hex that comes back into the circulating supply, and so that helps support the Hex price, and also it boosts the earnings for everybody else. because say they have to wait, months, and then maybe the fees go down and they can, end their stake, or someone runs good accounting on it, then, that can clear up the T-share, the T-share pool. So, so high fees. I love the fees. I mean, fees started going up in 2020, and then what did Hex do? Hex went on a run, ETH went on a run, everything went on a run, and so high fees are I don't really view that as a problem. It's perhaps a problem for the category of user that just can't do anything. That's maybe like an entry level user, but that category user, it's solutions kind of arise more on the application layer. And that's like with Maximus, it's like I only expect, in general, because of what I explained about the permanence of a chain, I really only expect fees to go up on the base layer. Like it doesn't make sense to think that fees will suddenly go down for you. Like you shouldn't have the expectation that fees are ever going down. And so the solutions for that come on like the application layer, and like with like the Maximus stake pools is actually kind of trivial to, solve that in a big way, where, and that's kind of, that's a way to reduce the fees for that particular use case, and so, it's kind of, so users that are impacted by fees, they just need to seek out solutions to, doing things like, like in the Hex stake pools, like bundling those, the bulky transaction into one instead of everyone running that bulky transaction. So those are a big solution to that. And that's kind of, I think that's really like the most suitable way, because it's like, what good, like imagine you had a chain that was really low fees, and the fees were so low that no one cared to operate the chain. And then suddenly the chain, there's no one there to run the chain. Then what are you going to do? Like, what good was that? I personally like the fee. And also I used to tweet, let me see if I can find, because what it really comes down to, like the fees that you see, it means that someone is willing to pay for it. Like someone really wants that block space. And I think it's kind of I think it's actually a good way to encourage yourself that, let me share my screen. Like if you're impacted by, I kind of said this kind of as a joke, but I mean, it's very real. If you don't want to pay the gas, it means you don't want it bad enough. Like if, because what that means, like the blocks there's finite resources there. And so finite amount of space. And so it goes to whoever's going to pay for it. And so if fees are too high for you, that means you don't want it bad enough, and these blockchains don't really care who is broadcasting to them. Whoever wants it can get it. And it really just comes down to price. So, so like, and because of that, I think that a good frame of mind is that you should always assume that fees are going to be high. And your way to kind of navigate around that is, one, like just avoid doing spurious transactions. Like you don't need to like make all these tiny little trades and make like fine tune adjustments to some strategy. Like, you're nickel and diming yourself and you're probably not even really impacting something. So larger, less frequent, actions is one big way. Like simply just hold your coins, just hoard them. You're paying no fees when you're just hoarding. So, that's one solution. You can, make up some ground based on the timing, but I mean, over time that kind of goes away. Like it used to be kind of the wisdom that on the weekends it'd be low, but that's not even really, I don't even really see that much anymore. Like that difference on weekday versus weekend is kind of dwindling. And also, I mean, it's like if the price is going to be going up, then the fees that you experience in dollar value are also going up. So, it's kind of up to the user to kind of mitigate that. Also, when 0.07, so that was interesting. It almost hit your target. Let's pull it up on. Where's the... Let's see if this one shows it. We almost hit your level, so... God. Ugh. Don't you hate when trade? I'm not logged in. Okay, let's go to hex.cash. Wow, how about that call? I even forgot about this. How about that? If you remember, like, this had to have been probably 6 months ago. Some bullish hopium was just left over on the chart. How about that? But here's what I was looking at. So we wicked down. So here, let's look at the famous. If you don't follow Dagrin on Twitter, I would consider Dagrin, one of the co-founders of Hex Twitter. I feel like I've been chatting with Dagrin on Twitter since like before Hex launched. He's always asking for 007. He's literally been waiting for price to come back to these levels. I think like right here is where he gets it from, like this local bottom. So he's just been waiting and waiting and waiting for 007. And we almost wicked down there. We revisited this kind of bear market bottom here when the fork happened. So I don't know, maybe when the bridge opens up and if people are trying to like transport value in, maybe we see something there. But 007 maybe soon. I don't know, maybe never. Maybe PX might have that, but I don't know. Hopefully. I'm waiting for that too. I'm waiting. That'll be the dip of all dips to see play out. So we'll see. Also, when you and Golke going to meet up? So we're not going to the Miami thing, but I don't know. I was just with him, and we were talking about a Maximus symposium. So we're talking. I mean, because like all the meetups are always like in Vegas. I mean, Vegas is a good one. It would be cool to do one in a different city, just for some variety. But who knows? Thanks for the tip, man. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah, I was a PLS, PLXLP. I've sacrificed for PulseChain and PulseX both, but I'm traveling out for 15 days and unable to do any pre-bridge or post-bridge transactions. Will I be all right? Yeah, literally, you'll be fine. Probably. I mean, it'll be just like everything else. Like 80% of the gains go to 20% of the users, like in everything. So, most of the people that are like, doing stuff right now, probably going to underperform just having sat through. So, if you sacrifice for PulseChain and PulseX, it's like you already have exposure, and it's like it's truly impossible to predict what the exact outcome is going to be. And so you have exposure to both, and whatever your balance is as of now, it's one of any other possible combinations. And so it's kind of worthless to, look and feel like you're doing something wrong, because there's only one way to find out what happens, and that's just to wait. So just sitting on your hands is an absolutely excellent strategy. Like, honestly, most people should do that. So yeah, you're fine. Put pre-bridge and post-bridge. Yeah. Because the thing is like, what would you have done? Any action you take, there's always a chance of, you making the wrong choice. So just sitting, in what your position is and just holding PulseChain and PulseX, it's like you get exposure to both of them. And, it's, unless you're like really, you feel really confident in your ability to do like new balancing and stuff, don't even sweat it. You're not missing on anything. So when can we expect Bridge Live? I have no idea. I thought it would be live by now, but it's not. And we'll just have to wait and see. You'll be better off than most, but yeah, exactly. We need a solution for gas. If someone bridges in ETH/USDC, needs at least 2,000 pulse before for swap. Otherwise, that's just stuck. Yeah, that. So I was just thinking about that because like I have like some of my friends that like I got into PulseX. They're like, hey, I want to. One of my friends like, hey, I need to sell my PulseX, and then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, he probably only has like one PLS, and so one solution that I was kind of thinking about was to, let me pull it up here. Some type of encrypted signature scheme for a simple trustless PLS to ETH cross-chain OTC market, mainly for gas, because I mean, when you look at the, let's pull this up. I'm pretty interested in this as a concept in general, but let's look at the beacon.pulsechain.com. Gas price is currently 3 million beat. And then what's that? PLS. Yeah. So let's like look at this just in like normal user terms. So that's pretty impressive. 500. This is what I was looking for earlier. 570 million PLS has been burnt. But with the, like, you know, the, where's the gas prices? Okay, yeah, right here. So, you know, you need 491 PLS to send PRC20, 1,412 to do a PLSX swap, and I haven't looked here. Let's see if we can sleuth around. Let's go to v4.testnet.pulsechain.com. Oh, is that not even scan.v4.pulsechain.com? Okay. See if we can find. Let's look around, sleuth around for a bridge. Do we know the bridge contract on? Let's see. We want to look up what the bridge fees are going to be. So let's connect. And let's just go there. I think we're on the right network. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I just want to find a transaction. Okay, I can't do that. How can we find the bridge transactions? I don't want to spend too much time doing this. Maybe it's on a verified contract. See if we can find anything related to bridge. Okay, I can't find it. We don't want to spend too much time on that. What I'm trying to find is I'm trying to find the just like what the gas cost is for bridging in, like how much PLS you'll need, because like how will you possibly get it is what I'm trying to figure out. And so some type of, you know, perhaps a simple trustless solution, but maybe if like time is of the essence, perhaps people would even tolerate something that relies on a, you know, like realistically, like type in an emoji of an M, like the M emoji, if you really needed some gas and you would, rely on a site that I put up, even if it wasn't fully trustless, and you're relying on a system that I built to route ETH into PLS via an OTC system, perhaps people would probably tolerate a little bit of that risk, even if it wasn't fully entirely trustless, because effectively, that signature scheme is effectively a bridge, which I don't really want to spend any time building any type of bridge solution. But I do think that perhaps there's some type of use case for an ETH to PLS gas system. So reply there if you would even trust like a semi-trustful solution. Ideally, it's simple and trustless, but who knows? But it is a problem. It'll probably be. I mean, just if sending PLS is 87, it's going to be at least 87. And how many people have tokens, but they don't have any PLS? So, and I mean, because you got like one PLS per ETH, you really don't have much to work with there. So, really, I'm not really sure what people are going to do about that. But what spotted what looks like a scam team token appearing in their wallet on Pulse side. So people have been reporting that the Deci token is being like the team logo is being attached to it when you use the token adding tool. I don't know why. I actually haven't really inspected that too much. But if that continues to be a problem and more people ask me about it, I'll share a link that'll let you just add it, and then it'll get the token logo right. But I mean, just double check the contract address. So that's really the thing that matters. The logo doesn't really matter. Maybe it's a little confusing, but I'm not really sure why Deci was kind of mixed up with team on that. That wasn't something that I built, so I don't know what exactly the issue is. Any idea how long these OTT gas fees lasted from the Spampire launched this stuff on all the other chains? I don't know. I haven't really paid attention. But I mean, it's like that's just what, like, I know a lot of people are real upset about this, but someone using the chain as programmed for any use case, it's entirely valid. Like, there's nothing invalid about those transactions. You may not like the coin, but realistically, issuing a token via where you get it by burning PLS via consuming block space, like, there's nothing wrong with that, truly. You may not like it, you may not like the personalities involved, and anything that's another coin that's not something that you might have, you already, there's some rivalry there, but it's not like it's any type of invalid use case. And that's only one, and imagine other use cases, like NFT stuff. We haven't seen a lot of NFT activity on PulseChain yet. That's traditionally been a big driver of gas. I mean, PulseX itself is going to be a big gas. Like, I mean, let's look at the Pulse Burn. 1,584 gas per PulseX swap. So that's already, considerably higher than just normal. It's about 15 times higher than normal PLS. And the gas really levers up when there's lots of activity, especially when the transactions are time sensitive, and especially when there's once like the MEV bots come in and start arbitraging, and even like especially when there's, because we have the bridge to PulseX on PulseChain, but where we'll have E-Hex on Pulse trading against P-Hex on Pulse, but also we may have P-Hex being bridged over to Ethereum, and then we'll have E-Hex and P-Hex on Ethereum trading on some other market. And if there's any arbitrage opportunity there, we'll see a lot of bridging to close the spreads, a lot of trading to close the spreads, and people willing to pay high gas fees in order to get their transactions in before their competitors who are also trying to close those spreads. So, like, the the Chen stuff, that's only one high gas consumer. And, any use of the block space is valid. Like, it's not just like a freedom of speech thing, broadcasting information to a blockchain, that's speech, but also it's like, it's like whoever is willing to pay for that block space can get it. Doesn't matter what they're using it for. So you shouldn't assume that that activity will stop. You should only expect more of it. And also, use cases that you don't consider spam, or you don't consider like, use cases that you may like, that can also drive up, gas prices. So, I mean, and especially if you want PulseChain, the PLS price to go up, and you want PulseChain to eat Ethereum's lunch and be like the new hub for DeFi and NFTs, it's like you can only expect high gas fees. And I think that probably over time, the narrative around PulseChain will change from like the low fees, because, it's like the more users you have and the more highly urgent, time sensitive use cases, high value use cases you have, the higher the fees will go. And, that's only a good thing. So, long answer short, you should mentally prepare for high gas fees at all times. Because then when fees are low, then it's like, great. And then when they're high, you're already mentally prepared for it. Because like it sucks when you think fees are going to be low and then they're high. But then it's like neutral if like you expect them to be high and they are high. And then it's awesome when you expect them to be high but they're low. So in that case, like 2 of the 3 scenarios are at least neutral. Whereas if you expect fees to be low, if you expect them to be low and they're low, that's neutral. If you expect them to be low and they're high, that's negative. So, it's kind of a, you just gotta, you shouldn't expect them to be low. What you think about PLSX versus PLS price performance, PLSX buy and burn pressure? Let's pull the chart up. Let's find PulseChain. Like, what the fuck are all these networks? Like, that's what's crazy, is like there's so many networks that like you don't even think about. And like, do those people care so much as we do? I don't think so. Let's look at PLSX versus Pulse. Is this it? Yeah, it's gotta be. Oh yeah, it's only been around for a little bit. So let's look at like the 1 hour chart. So so what this means is 1 PLSX is worth 1/4 of a pulse. And so it's been 1 week since you looked at me. So it's been kind of following this range, like this descending wedge here. It got as high as 0.3, as low as 0.25. So really, I mean, not that much. If you look at these percent swing, I mean, really not that. It hasn't really been trading in a huge range. It's kind of trending towards lower prices of PLSX. And it really comes down to, I mean, the instantaneous price, like over short time frames, really comes down to what the individual buyers and sellers are doing. Like the people with a bunch of Pulse, what they're doing. It looks like the number of buyers, that's interesting. So there's a little bit less buyers than sellers, but there are more buy orders than sells. So it means that the buyers are kind of breaking up into numerous transactions. Because I think it's like unique buyers. And I haven't studied so much the supply of both of them. I saw Richard tweet something that the circulating supplies are pretty close. I think on PLS burn, let's see if it supply. Okay, here we go. So circulating supply, they're quite equal. So 135 trillion Pulse, 143 trillion PulseX. So that's only about a, what would that be like? I don't know. What's 143 over 135? About a 6% supply difference. And, you know, probably the things that are working against PulseX are, if I recall, the PulseX sacrifice was a lot larger than the PLS one. So just in general, like more people like looking to capture ROI. And whenever there's more people trying to capture an ROI, they are, you know, that's active selling. And also like perhaps a lot of people were sacrificing for PLSX because they missed the PLS sacrifice window and they wanted to get PLS. And so maybe that's what a lot of these sells have been, is just people that sacrifice for PLSX as a mechanism for acquiring PLS. So maybe that's kind of what we're seeing there, and that's what's driving this, like, you know, let's just look at this like all-time regression trend. So kind of this like, look at the shape of this, you know, that's just like the general trend that's been happening. So that might be contributing to this right now. And also, I mean, probably a lot of this is also people selling PLSX for PLS because they need gas money. Interesting enough. So, so that's probably what we're seeing. Is just, that's probably accounts for that. This is a pretty healthy range, you know. I mean, let's see what the like this kind of swing trading range is. I mean, from here to there, you know, so like 12%. Big wick down here. Looks like there's a big seller. So let's see if anyone substantially captured that. Let's look at like the 5-minute chart to like, and zoom out on that. Where's that? Okay, so let's see. There's a big wick down. And so price was in this really low range for about, maybe if you consider this the low range, below 249, 5, 10, maybe 1 or 2 minutes there. So for about 12 minutes, you got a chance to really snipe that wick down. So, you know, maybe not too many, and it looks like there was really low volume in this candle there. So maybe not too many people actually caught this wick down. So the majority of the people that kind of caught this dip had been, you know, spread out in the 2.5 to 2.6 range. So that's kind of where we are now. So, you know, it looks like people were there to step in to buy the dip. But I mean, those are probably the dynamics that are driving the short-term, you know, aspect there. But also, you know, the buy and burn has accounted for, so 8.9 billion PLSX has been burnt, and that is 0.0062% of the supply. So if you annualize that, 0.0062 cents, so let's add 2 more zeros. So 0.0062 times 365. Annualized, that's 2.26%. So at this rate, that accounts for about 2% supply deflation. So, you know, that's, I wouldn't call that hyper deflationary. But I mean, that's just at these levels, and that's before the bridging. So maybe when the bridging happens, we'll see a lot more, especially if there's if there's bridging in both directions and there exist arbitrage opportunities to trade the E-Hex versus P-Hex on PulseChain versus the E-Hex P-Hex on Ethereum. And there's a lot of bridging back and forth. That'll contribute to burning of both the PLS, you know, as like the validators. I think a lot of them set their like fee burning. I think that's what accounts for a lot of that burning. But also the PLSX burning from fees. So hopefully we see that. Hopefully we see that, like that true cross-chain market nature take root. And that will just really result in a lot of burning. So maybe that deflation will increase once the bridge opens up, and especially once there's like dual cross-chain token trading. need thicker maxi and perps liquidity on PulseChain. So in which direction? Like would that be for the buyers or for the sellers? Because for like on the buyer end, like the price you see, especially on these pool tokens, like the price you may see, because there's just not a lot of liquidity, which means there's really just not much for sale. And so the price you see on deck screen, that's like the last price that it traded at. And so people think in their mind that that's what the price is, but when you account for the slippage, just because there's not much for sale anyways, it's like the price is in effect higher if you're a buyer. And it kind of works in the same way as a seller. Like, if there's not a lot on the buy side, then like the price is effectively lower than what shows up there. So, and I mean, realistically, it's like the market is always right. Because what that means is that it means that people that hold the tokens don't want to sell them. And, then it's just, and then on the other end, it's, that like, you want to attract demand for it. And so, I mean, really like I think if people are looking for exit liquidity, then, efforts to do, just to get people to buy, that's one way. If people want the buy side, or if people are buyers and they want liquidity, then what that means is that they need to entice people to sell it to them. And the number one way to entice someone to sell you something is to be willing to pay a little bit higher price than what you think it should be. So, the market's always right. The amount of liquidity is always right. Because what that really means, like if there's not a maxi or any of the pools in the pool, if there's not a maxi or the perps in the liquidity pool, that means that no one wants to sell those. So, that's just kind of how it is. Do you see the discounts eradicating on some of the longer Maxis pools being a strong indicator, hex in a bull trend, or simply be dragged up? Let's look at it. Let's look at the native one. So we have Maxi at 1.06, Trio at just over 1, Lucky is quite low, Base is, wow, I hadn't looked at this in a little bit. I mean, not a lot of volume, but 1.076. So, and what? So Base is actually pretty, let's pull this up. So here we go. Wow, look at that wick down. I mean, that's probably just like sometimes these wicks are just like bastard wicks from like market making bots and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe my tweet, because what I tweeted here was a way to think about the effective APY, where if you were to buy a pool token on a certain date and hold it till redemption versus staking for that same period. So it looks like, people had just been buying the base. Looks like, and also it looks like on May 12th, this person had removed some base, and I guess they moved some hex from the pool as well. But yeah, I mean, as it gets I think it really, as it gets closer to redemption, because kind of what I highlighted here, where like the APY for these is 365 divided by the days remaining times the expected redemption rate, which is up here, minus the current price divided by the current price. That gives you an effective APY of, at the time, it was 19.4% APY. So buying base, when I made this chart, which was like early on in May, by buying base, you could effectively get 19.4% APY for a 150-day stake. Whereas had you simply just staked hex on your own for 151 days, your yield was 3.83% and your APY was like 9.27%. So that's what I was highlighting with that image, is that like buying below this line that shows roughly what it earns, your APY is elevated versus just staking for between now and the end of the stake. So, I mean, the long-term ones, I mean, those can go so much lower than they are. I mean, realistically, like Because I mean, with base, it's about midway through. So by now, each base you could, like, if you were to have staked for a year, you could early end stake for 1 hex. So like it kind of makes sense that it wouldn't be below 1 for any extended period of time. And you can see that here. Like, I mean, even in general, the base, anytime it yoinks below 1, it's like quickly bought up. Like yoink, yoink, especially these wicks. And I think that, just yoink, yoink, yoink. Anytime it's below there, it doesn't stay there for long. Never stays there for long. But with the longer ones, where the equivalent stake, which is for Maxi, it would be a max length stake, started in May of last year. So we just closed in on a year. Or Deci, 10-year stake starting in October. Right now the equivalent stake is full nuke. So, those ones just have a lot more room below, and they're just so far away that there's not like a short-term kind of arbitrage spread to close. Whereas like in here, if you're buying below this orange line, you're getting an elevated rate, and you, with pretty high certainty, within the next, what would that be, 5 months from now when this stake ends, it's like you can characterize that you're going to capture. So say you bought like at 1.07, that you're getting 4% in the next 5 months, like with high certainty. So like, whereas with the longer term ones, they're just so long away that there's not like that short term spread to close. And so, that it's like people that are like trying to trade that are it's just a little bit less attractive for them. Whereas, so let's look at Deci. Switch to the price in hex. So yeah, I mean, Deci's really been holding in the same level like this. It's kind of been down here for most of the year. And yeah, and it just kind of comes down to what people kind of value these for. And so it also kind of makes sense that when it's in a bear market, that means there's low demand for hex. And so, it makes sense that there would be, even lower demand for pre-staked hex. Because like, if you want to own staked hex, first you have to want to own hex, and then you want to own staked hex. And so like, it kind of makes sense that there would be, pretty substantial discounts. And I mean, realistically, I would actually like to see these discounts to be lower, because then I think that would be an awesome opportunity for people to be able to capture, massive earnings, effectively like way exceeding any type of native stake just by buying these at these low prices. And also, I mean, it's kind of hard to even compare the like Maxi and Deci, for instance, because remember just a couple streams ago, meaning 5 months ago or more, when we were discussing how the demographic was very different for Deci minters versus Maxi minters. Maxi was much more of like a staking user base that wasn't really thinking about selling or like the liquidity aspect. They weren't thinking about premiums. And that's why the premium went so high. It's like the Maxi people, that first cohort that like instantly 2x their hex, they got rich because no one thought they were getting rich. Whereas with Deci, everyone thought they were getting rich. That's why no one got rich. And so it's kind of that similar phenomena where there was just like a lot larger minters, almost, more than twice as much supply of Deci versus Maxi, and people looking for a quick flip. And so just the user base between Maxi and Deci, for instance, is different. And also Maxi had a big catalyst of supply locking up. Like when the team launched, there was about 4 or 5% of the Maxi supply got burnt. And then another big chunk of the supply, I think about 10% of the supply, got locked up in the 369 escrow contract. So that'll be emitted to team stakers in years 3, 6, and 9. And then another big chunk of the supply got, into that mystery box. And when you look at that mystery box, all it's done is just hoard the Maxi. So a whole lot of the Maxi supply especially, and that's Maxi that was like from the more speculative users who were minting team. So Maxi that was in the hands of more speculative users kind of got absorbed into this, like, into this, into those three categories where all that supply is not for sale. And then another big chunk of that Maxi went into the Hedron deployer during the Watsa launch. And then now Fiat, got a bunch of Maxi during their sacrifice. And so, those are big swaths of the supply that are not actively for sale now. They could be for sale at any time, except for the burnt amount and the 369 escrow that's kind of scheduled. Probably the Fiat group is more likely to sell. The Hedron deployer, I think, is probably less likely to sell. And the mystery box, who knows? Entire mystery. They could dump it all tomorrow if they wanted to. So whoever controls the keys to the mystery box could absolutely dump it. They could burn it. They could give it away. They could do anything with it. So who really knows? It's a mystery. But a large amount of the Maxi supply, which I discussed in the in some tweets and stuff about just like how Maxi started being so equally distributed, but then over the first year of its existence, huge consolidation of the Maxi supply, which Deci just hasn't seen it. There hasn't been an event that has swallowed up a bunch of Deci. So I think those things kind of make it more. Those are more on like factoring into discounts, just like the nature of who owns the tokens. But also, I mean, when Hex is in a bull trend, I think that means that people will be looking to buy Hex in any way, and kind of the opposite of what I described a minute ago about how like in a bear market that means low demand for Hex, so like especially low demand for staked Hex. But like when there's high demand for Hex, people are going to want Hex in any way they can get it, and when when it's staked, meaning like you're getting more Hex every day by holding that token, maybe that's when we'll see some some closing on the discounts or even some premiums is during a bull market. Kind of like what, with like the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. In bull markets, you see premiums, bear markets, you see discounts. So we'll see. 0.01, 0.55. Wow, big spread there. PX still very undervalued. Let's look at it. Okay, so it looks like, it's just kind of been trading this range. Kind of similar. Okay, no, that's backwards. So let's invert this because let's look at we want to see the price in the, okay, so PHEX has been kind of trending upwards. Probably what that is people with PLS that saw the big sell-off on the E-Hex, thinking that once the bridge opens that PX is also going to be undervalued. So they think that like in this moment, PX is undervalued. And also, just like kind of speculation, maybe, it has been pretty flat. Every time it's gone up, it's been sold down. So it's kind of stayed around this like 380 to 1, ratio, but we shall see. Tex Texas, thank you for all you for the community. Thank you. PLS 0.005 low. PLS 0.00 low. Okay, I see what they mean. 10x high first day, set around 5x. That'd be quite a lot. There might be too much bullish hopium. So something I've been trying to I learned this I was watching like an interview with some like old timey hedge fund manager, and one of these hedge funds that's been around for decades, and someone in the interview asked him like, what was like the biggest lesson you learned early on in your career? And what he said was, don't believe your own bullshit. And so I've been really trying to apply that where like, literally look at the shirt I'm wearing. It's a shirt I made when Hex was like at its all-time highs. And that's honestly when I kind of knew the Hex highs were in. That's when I was sensing that like things were getting stupid, is when I felt the urge to make a shirt with the price chart. But kind of that concept of like not believing your own bullshit and like, so like I've I think I've done a pretty good job of like keeping like bullish hopium kind of out of my perspective. So like, you know, my baseline assumption is losses. You know, I don't, because I don't expect people to demand the assets that I own. You know, like that is a blessing if someone wants to buy the assets I own. And so that's why I try not to at least, you know, lock my mind into thinking there's going to be ultra high, you know, multiples immediately. And also kind of what I said earlier about like, you know, if everyone's thinking that, then no one's going to get it. Cause it's like, okay, if everyone's like, oh, we're getting 10x, then someone's like, okay, well maybe 9x is good for me. And then someone's like, okay, 8x is good for me, 7x, 6x, then it kind of just gets squeezed out. So wow, look at that high. Honestly, that's pretty realistic what Dagrin says. Like there could be huge swings, especially before the liquidity kind of settles in. 4x day one sack, settle around 2. 5 years, everyone absolutely aping to Desi Maxi. Yeah, I mean, especially Desi, I think that halfway point. Do you intend to snapshot totals on PulseChain for pool party, or do you intend to reach back to a pre-fork block for the totals honored in the airdrop? So the airdrop snapshot for pool party has already been taken. It was, like we said, it was going to be blocks before the PulseChain fork. So the fork, the block that Richard put out as the fork block, 50 blocks before that, that's the block that we're going to measure the airdrop snapshot from, and that will be it. So so it's going to be the same snapshot cohort as same snapshot cohort for both chains. So if you get the snapshot on ETH, you're going to get it on Pulse. Or if you get the airdrop on ETH, you're going to get it on Pulse. 0.05 to 0.01. Can someone TRF me some Pulse to cover swap on my PLSX? Sorry, I would, but I don't want to dox my wallet. Is E-Hex going to tank post-bridge? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's already priced in. Maybe the tank's already priced in. Because, I mean, what, like, if say people are trying to move that value over, then that E-Hex goes in the bridge, and then so that E-Hex is now not in the liquidity pool on USDC or not for sale for USDC. So maybe E-Hex pumps at the bridge. Bullish for Lucky. Oh yeah, probably that 7-year thing. Yeah, Lucky in that last year of Lucky, it's going to get a lot of rewards because Lucky started like a year and a half in. So basically that a full year of the Genesis T shares, like all of the max length stakes that started in the first year, where there was like an artificially low T share rate and ultra low prices. All of those stakes will hit the midway point where they can all get their principal back. So that last year of Lucky is probably going to, you know, earn a lot. And maybe that you know, because right now in my mind, I'm thinking Lucky's probably going to earn about 22% a year, 22 to 25% a year. And that's based on current payout per T-share, which is based on current pool size, T-share pool size, and current earnings. But at that point, the amount of T-shares is going to be going down, and the penalties are just going to, a lot of penalties applied to a smaller and smaller group of T-shares. So Lucky, that's why Lucky's my favorite. Lucky's the best one. 7 years, the best stake length by far. Any hints as to how Party will be specifically distributed to Maximus DAO holders? So let me. So basically, here, let me show you here. Show you the contract. So the snapshot is captured in, let's see if I have it in here. So don't take, so this is like a test one. So this is not like the final one. This is like an old snapshot from a test. This is just on my like private test net. So basically there's a whole list, and it's a bunch of addresses and a bunch of values. And so this is all compiled into a Merkle tree that looks like this. Let's find it. Or a Merkle root. So this value right here is called the Merkle root. So that simple value, it contains information such that when you as the user want to claim your airdrop, you pass in something called a proof. So the DApp, like the airdrop claim DApp on like your interface, like you won't even look at the proof on like not the back end, but just like when you click claim like the claim airdrop button, the DApp will look up your Merkle proof, and then you'll pass in the amount. And so the Merkle proof is like a number. It's like a, just a bit of data. So it looks like an address. It kind of looks like an ETH address. So it's just some data. So it's just a magic number, and then an amount. And so, and then there's a function called verify. And so what this does is it checks using this encryption technique that the Merkle proof that you submitted is valid for your address. So it verifies that you are eligible for the airdrop. So first it checks to make sure that you haven't already claimed your airdrop. Then it verifies that you're eligible. So it runs that check. Third, it makes sure that the mint phase is over, because the airdrop happens after the fact. So now it calculates the total airdrop value. So 10% of the minted party is airdrop. So the total airdrop value is going to be total party that's minted divided by 10. So the more party that's minted, the more that the airdrop's going to be worth. So on the dashboard, you'll see like the amount of party that you're eligible for just creep up over the mint phase. And then it calculates something called scaled airdrop proportion. So, which is the, basically the amount that you're claiming, the amount that's in that Merkle tree divided by the total airdrop points. So what that is, if you want to look, it's like this number here. So like say this is you, and it passes in this number 3,000. So these are like the airdrop points. So your percent, so this user's percent of the total is 3,000 divided by the sum of all these numbers. And so that person, so that's like your proportion of the airdrop. And then, so that proportion of the airdrop is multiplied by the total amount that is available for the airdrop. So that's the scaled amount mintable. And then it calculates the amount mintable by, and this is just like the scaling technique for this division. So it calculates how much party that you're eligible to mint. It mints you that amount mintable, marks you as having minted, and then logs the event. So that'll trigger the Twitter bot. So yeah, so that's how you'll be able to do that. So I have a script that runs, that calculates the it captures this. It calculates everyone's holdings. The holdings are like each token actually get a different airdrop value based on the token. So some coins, are going to be, they get a little bonus. Some coins kind of, most of them get roughly the same. Some of them get a little extra bonus. I'll probably release that pretty soon. of kind of what that was. But yeah, then I just composed that Merkle tree and then paste in that Merkle root into the contract. It gets deployed, it's immutable, and then you just prove that you're part of that Merkle tree, and then you can mint your airdrop. Are you launching party on ETH and PulseChain? Yes. What happened to unclaimed Hedron from those 15-year early end stakers go? What would that do to the value of Hedron at the time? So that Hedron just doesn't get minted. So it actually drastically reduces that future minted Hedron, which is awesome. That's like a huge blessing for Hedron. And so what that means is that, like, say you had, it's ease of calculation, like 1% of the Hedron supply. And if, say a bunch of those early end stakes caused the total Hedron supply that would have existed by that end of your stake to decrease by, say, 20%, then your piece of the Hedron pie grew by 20% because inflation that the market was pricing in is suddenly not going to be there. And so, so it's very, very bullish for Hedron. Stake ending today, what would you do? Thoughts? So let's look at the end state gas calculator. How long was your stake? So let's go here. Look at our handy dandy stake calculator. Okay, so this is on E-Hex. So if you had, wow, so fees, the gas must be quite, let's check, let's see how accurate my, yeah, I mean, fees are pretty high today. So, I mean, let's look at use the ether scan value, so 100. So if fees are about 100 GUA right now, this is if your stake started on day one. So, I mean, if your stake started then, you probably don't give a shit about that fee. But say your stake is shorter. So say you did like a 500 day stake, 600 day, whatever, $278 for a 653 day stake. I mean, my rule of thumb is like, you don't want that to eat up too much of your, so I don't know. It's so hard to, it all comes down to, I mean, it's hard to answer without knowing the details of your stake, which, you shouldn't give square numbers on what your stake is worth or anything. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, just come up with your own rule of thumb for what % you're willing to pay and just hope it goes down. But also maybe like don't nickel and dime it. Like, I don't know, tough decision. And let's see what it would be on PulseChain. What? Let's see. Okay, so the API I was using for the PulseChain gas may not be working. So let's go to, I think they might have updated this version. So I don't have a valid, okay, I'll need to update my thing in there. So take off how many zeros? 8 zeros? Or no, billion. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, so if so, yeah, I mean, tough call. Your call. Gas is quite high on both networks. Oh, you guys couldn't even see that, what I was looking at. So I don't know. Your call. Do you have anything you show us on the PulseParty application? Let's see. What am I logged into on this computer? Let me see. So here, I'll show you a couple of the, let's see. Can't do anything because I'm not connected on my other machine that I'm working on this on. That's where I have my like private hard hat testnet. But let's just look at this. So this is like the minting interface. Shows you if your mint multiplier is eligible, what your ETH balance is, what your party balance is, and then that signature because I'm not on the network. So here's like the UI for all the different things. So mint, stake, claim airdrop, mint ticker NFTs, ticker auctions, create stake pools, join pools. It's like a staking interface. Claim airdrop. Yeah, so kind of have all these pages ready to link up to the contract. So similar design to kind of what you all expect from everything. But yeah, so now that I'm finalizing the contract, I'll be integrating it into the dApp. But yeah, so that's kind of where it's at. Just watched around the blockchain. They're just talking shit on Richard Hart projects. They bump meme coins, shit coins, but talk shit on hexpool. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it is. I mean, most people have oatmeal for brains, and so it's kind of what it is. Do you know if claiming the midnight bonus is the way to get in? I have no idea. I haven't done anything with that. Do you think pre-bridge at 4 PulseX to pulse ratio is a good deal? I think so. What are your thoughts? First said ratio could get worse. Gas around 2,000 pulse to swap. What's your thoughts? I mean, it's hard to say. So that means that you need 4 PulseX to get 1 pulse, and by worse, it means it could get higher. Right? Is that what you mean? Like are you trying to get PLS? I'm not sure which coin are you trying to get? PX, more predictions. Thank you, Mitchell. Really appreciate it. What's up with our precious Poly? Well, Poly is the highest yielding asset of all of them. So the Hedron value, I mean, the Hedron took a big hit on just like the price. So the current treasury value is about $2 million of Hedron. The ICOSA value in here is about 400,000. And so what's 400,000? So 400 over 2010. So it's earned about 19% in so this launched, the stake started in like December. So it's been about 5 months. So times 12 over 5. So Poly is earning about 47% APY. So the APY that Poly earns is higher than any of our other yielding assets. So Poly is the highest yielding coin. The discount is low. Mainly, it's similar phenomena to like why Deci is low, because just it's redeemable in so long that there's not kind of like that tight spread to close just yet. And so now with like this discount like to the par value, it's like you're buying a basket of ICOSA and staked Hedron at a 43% discount. And so liquidity is a factor in there with that discount. It kind of works in both directions. But I mean, Poly kind of is the sleeping giant of this whole thing. So I think over time, Poly will probably, especially if Hedron can even just keep pace with Hex between now and then, or even you know, there's new dynamics introduced that cause the ICOSA value to at least stay closer to the ceiling. Right now, the ICOSA value is about 40x off the ceiling. That it's kind of, you know, that it kind of rebounds off of from above. If new dynamics are introduced there that cause that to happen, over that 15-year period, Poly could probably outperform Maxi by many orders of magnitude. So Poly is, I mean, Lucky's my favorite one just because I think the 7-year stake is perfect. But Poly's probably my second favorite of all of our coins because it's just such a high yielding thing that it's just awesome. So it's high yielding and undervalued. Like the assets themselves are undervalued. I saw you post an article on Vanity Public Keys having the private key cracked. Do you know if it's possible to burn Vanity address on Pulse? I don't know. It was a problem with the. Here, let's pull it up so people know what we're talking about. Where is it? Where is that reply? Oh, here, I need to look at my replies. Where was it? What day was it that we were talking about it? Oh yeah, here we go. So Richard was like, what burn address would you create with 40 characters after OX number, yada, yada. So like just these vanity addresses. I posted this thing where there was a tool called Profanity that was used to be able to brute force the creation of these vanity addresses. And there's a hack because like the software tool, I guess, made it predictable, and so people could guess what these private keys were related to these vanity addresses. So I don't know. I really don't know what they used to produce those. It sounds like this tool was deprecated, so it may not even be there anymore, but I don't know. Just then I posted another wallet of mine. PulseChain total PLS using the transaction was 240, 2.4 cents at the original SAC rate. Cheap. Yeah, I mean, that is still cheap. It's a lot in Pulse if you just don't have Pulse, but it's hard to get Pulse right now, but that will kind of resolve itself. How is beat calculated into Pulse fee? Is it like 0.0 Pulse or something like G-Way? So beat is equivalent to G-Way. And G-Way is a billion Way, and Way is equivalent to something called impulse. So each unit of pulse has 18 decimals behind it. So 18 decimals, that 18th that unit in the 18th decimal point is called impulse. And if you shift it over 9, that unit is G-Way or beat. So beat is like G-Way. So yeah, that's like what it is. Perpetuals work on PulseChain. Yep, they all work. If I roll over my perpetuals, the earned hex from the previous term gets staked, or am I able to claim my earned hex anytime? So you can claim it before it gets restaked. So for example, base ends in October, it'll be worth about 1.11 hex per base. And so you can you can burn your base through the contract and redeem 1.1 hex per base that gets burnt. But you can only do that for about 7 days. And then once that happens, it's locked and you can't redeem anymore. So need bridge. Wow, I'm so far behind on the chat. Desu's listed his team for me, but I hit it and put a need. Yeah, there's some weird thing going on. Logo PulseX also mixed with Hex. He front ends for Uniswap, I think. Uniswap.hedron.pro. Guess not. I don't know. I'm high, so the fees is Hex Huddle. Are you and Jack Levin in cahoots? I don't think your perpetuals would have much demand on Pulse until Zen Degens appeared. No, I mean, I totally knew he was going to do what he was going to do. The advice that I gave him was that, like, it's kind of a waste that all that economic energy is just burnt. Like, that economic energy should have just gone to him. Like, realistically, all the money that's been burnt into Zen should have just gone to him. It would have been more bullish. And like tapering the supply would have been a good idea. But no cahoots there. TGI Fridays, burn my chicken wings. You can invert the chart. Yeah, that's what he did. I can hear RH Max's was tanto nomini. What's happening? Did a new network launch? Yeah, new network launched, and it's called what was it called? New network launched, and it's called Elves Dex. It's on Alvi. What the fuck is this? Like so much horse Christ going on. Job report earnings, which book value went up to 90, which over 2 data. I don't know what that means. Pen and burn with the zero debt, oil, not sure what that means. I feel like you know how to fix this. When you have a stuck transaction, MetaMask, you can't figure out the original nonce. How would you clear this transaction? This blockchain explorer doesn't always show. So on Ethereum, you can solve most issues by just sending 0 ETH to your own address. So maybe try sending 0 Pulse to your own address. I think Richard posted a solution there I think it's basically just like increasing your gas limit. I provided liquidity for PulseX at ratio 1 Pulse 3.79. If ratio changes 1 to 4, does that mean I've gained more in PulseX favor or Pulse favor? Okay, so let's see. So that means that you put in 1 Pulse and 3.79. And now if it moves to 1 to 4, that means that, what does that mean? Let's pull up the DEX screener. Just make sense of it. Okay, so here, let's share the screen. So you said that you put it in at 3.79 and now it's at 1 to 4. So that means that if this went up, that means you have less of the thing that went up. So in this case, PLS went up relative to PulseX because now you need 4 PulseX to get it instead of 3.79. So you get more of the thing that went, or you now have less of the thing that went up. So you have a little bit less PLS now. The like button, y'all. Thanks, Chris. Michael asks, are you a dip buyer and do you buy stocks? Not just a dip buyer. I am the dip catcher. pro.dipcatcher.com, which is a scripting algorithm for TradingView. It's a TradingView plugin that lets you identify awesome dips in the price. Over 900 Access Passes have been sold. And when you buy an Access Pass, you get a Buddy Pass token, which you can sell, do whatever you want with. Last I looked, it was like $60. Let's look at what the DCA price is now. So yes, I am a dip buyer. Which has saved me in a lot of ways, being a dip catcher instead of a pump chaser. So I am a dip buyer. I look for max pain. I wait until I feel horribly sick in my stomach, and that's when I buy. So yes, I'm a dip, and literally I've bought a couple stocks here and there, just like if it's like a company a friend works at or something. But I don't really do much in the stock market. A couple reasons. One, like you as the retail investor have no advantage at all. Like you have a disadvantage. Like you are the exit liquidity for the hedge funds, in my opinion. So I don't feel like you as the retail investor have much of an advantage. And the upside, in order to get really high multiple returns, you need to lever up the risk. Because just like holding spot shares, like, yeah, things can go up, but not in the same scales that crypto does. So, I kind of like that dynamic better. My personal subject matter expertise is in crypto. It's not in the dynamics of the stock market. So, I don't really feel like I have any type of edge there. And whereas like in crypto, I actually, because by now it's like I've been in crypto since 2017, been through all the cycles, been, dabbled and performed well across, NFTs, other corners of DeFi, not hex related, Bitcoin trading. Like I've, kind of rounded out and I have, by now thousands of hours of experience in this world. So I do feel a serious competitive advantage in this area, which I just don't have in the stock market. I know looking at charts, there's similarities, but I don't feel much of an advantage there. And kind of the way I see it is like, by the time a company is on the public markets, all the upside's already been captured. Like all that high multiple upside's been captured. So, so I'm not so much into the stock market. What do you think about Inc? Seems like it's going to be way more than a throwaway token. Yeah, I mean, that's like, it's something that people can mint, not really for free, so that's a good thing. Like you actually have to, bear the risk of supplying liquidity in those pools to, to get it. So that's a good thing. And, who knows if there's going to be some type of like deflationary aspect to it or something, or, I've actually thought of some different use cases to build around it. So who knows, and perhaps the Inc will be a lever that they use to try to incentivize liquidity. Like what if someone just puts the bid, like someone who wants people to put a lot of liquidity in there, what do they just put the bid on the Inc token? So they make the Inc token more valuable, attract more liquidity. So I think that there's a lot of levers that can be pulled there. I do like it. Once base can be redeemed, people get a lot more confidence in longer perpetuals, and I expect those discounts to disappear. Yeah, I mean, so I know some people think that still, even though like it's been proven in so many different ways that and staking and everything works. So, so yeah, it's, but yeah, maybe that'll just be a good, like, symbol. Doge surpasses Bitcoin in transactions. Imagine that. You only talk about Bitcoin only, and do you talk about Bitcoin miners? So I don't really do any mining, but by now the Bitcoin mining industry is just so sophisticated where, like, you as the retail miner, you're better off just buying tokens. Like, you really need to have access to really cheap power or really cheap electronics in order to do it. So, and mining businesses are tough. I mean, like, a lot of the mining businesses went bankrupt here because it's just like a tough business. So I'm not so much into it. Goki says, give a pool party update. So yeah, so right now I'm in really, like, the last stages of testing of the contracts. So what we have here is we have the pool party contract. So that includes, so there's activation. It has the pool party minting. It has the airdrop claiming. We have party staking. And we have the party hex rewards. And then we have the name auctions. And the, and then, like, the pool deployment utilities. So then we also have the reward distribution contracts. This is like when you're holding your party, this is how you'll claim your hex rewards. And then we have the NFT contract for the ticker names. So this is in ERC 721. This is something I actually entirely rebuilt. I had this one. I had a version of this, the ERC 1155, but for a couple different reasons, which we can get in the weeds if you want to, I decided to rewrite it using the standard ERC 721. And so we have the NFTs that go along with the ticker names. And yeah, so we have, so all of everything with the contract is built, and now I'm kind of on my second or third kind of pass through where I'm just optimizing things. I'm doing a lot of testing using Hard Hat. So Hard Hat is, Hard Hat is a testing and, like, development framework for smart contracts. So I'm really leaning into this testing utility that they have with Hard Hat. And so just as I'm testing, I'm finding things that can be improved, doing things, reducing the amount of approvals that users need to make, reducing the gas impact per transactions, just kind of continuing to just, like, really just optimize the contract, getting it ready to launch, improving the documentation. So really just kind of, like, I've really been, I cannot even tell you how many times I've cycled through this and, like, made improvements. So pool party contract is complete, except for, these incremental, like, small improvements that I make. And then here is the perpetual pool contract that gets deployed through this system. So the updates that were made here from the original perpetual pools are related to the party, like this, like, how party gets so parties encouraged to grow these pools by getting some of the yield from these pools. And then so party, and also another thing that's unique to these pools is that they actually have a I haven't gotten it because I'm still working on the documentation for this, and then that's when we'll fully kind of publish all the dynamics here. But the pool, like the stake pools, actually have a version of the diamond hands built into these contracts, and that diamond hand time lock functionality is how the hedron is distributed. And so this is actually a really awesome dynamic where you time lock your stake pool token, and based on how many days you time locked them relative to everyone else, you can get like a larger amount of hedron than what you would have got staking on your own. So this is a pretty cool dynamic, which we haven't really, because I'm still finalizing, doing a lot of testing on this, and just making sure everything is exactly the right dynamic. But basically, the way this works is that you get these credits based on how many days that you've locked in. And so when you time lock your coins, you're committing to hold your pool token until redemption, and then you can early unlock, and there's a penalty, and then and those penalties are redistributed to the people that do hold till redemption, and then at the end, all the people that held through redemption, and this is what's different about this versus Diamond Hands, is that you can join this at any time. So if you bought your coin midway through, you can claim rewards for that second half of the stake. So, so it's a pretty powerful system for distributing the hedron to the stake pool participants. Maybe some pumpamentals in there as well, with like just this time lock system and amplified yield with these early unlock penalties. So that's probably the only major change to the pool token contracts, is that it has a built-in time lock mechanism. That's how the hedron is distributed. So that's probably the only big change there. And then another thing that's awesome about this is that these pool tokens also have a end state gas pool. So these contracts, they allow anyone to deploy this end state gas pool, and so anybody can send ETH or any ERC20 token to these end state gas pools. And if you're the person that runs the end stake function on behalf of the contract, you can flush the rewards. So so this is just like a way to kind of passively raise funds for reimbursing the person that pays the gas to end the stake. And so that's the also change to the stake pools compared to the perpetuals. Because it started with like the perpetual contract, and then just made those changes to kind of make it fine tuned to how Party is. So that's kind of that's probably that. So that's where the contracts are at. So the contracts are, now I'm just doing my last pass throughs on these and doing the testing. What I'm trying to do, because like with the other contracts, like when I've sent them to audit, there's kind of been an extended kind of back and forth, and in some cases I've had to like pay extra for like kind of repeat audit and stuff. So I'm trying to just do a lot of that testing prior to audit, and then just the audit should really be more of like a stamp that it's done, instead of like actually like looking for stuff. So and so that's where the contracts are at. And so I'm doing more like the testing in code, and then once I have this finalized, then we'll do some testnet sequences with the front end dApps, which are in progress right now. So and then I guess other things related to that. Name claim is still ongoing on Ethereum. It is not happening on PulseChain. I'm going to redeploy the name claim contract on PulseChain to account for like the supply scaling between the ETH and the PLS. And so you'll be able to continue to claim names beforehand. We've had over 100 names claimed for these pools, which is awesome. And also on name claim, you can lock in about a 15% discount to the mint rate that you would get once the full launch happens. So that's been going really well. And then, so, kind of as I just wrap these up, once I quit focusing on PulseChain, maybe this week I'll be able to focus a little more on this. We'll get to, just finishing up these last few things and get ready for testnet. So it's quite extensive. It's definitely the largest, thing in scope compared to all the other stuff, but it's kind of leaning into a lot of things that I've learned throughout all the other launches. So, just doing what we can to get things ready. And so also the other thing, so like I said earlier, the airdrop snapshot has been recorded, the block has been taken. So probably sometime in the next couple days or so, I'll publish the snapshot list so you can kind of go and verify and just sanity check. You can help me just kind of double check that even though I'm pretty certain because I've compared it to like ether scans, like exports and stuff. My like the tool I use to record the snapshot of the tokens, I know it works pretty well. But just to kind of sanity check and let people practice the airdrop claiming, we'll probably do something with that. So yeah, that's where we're at. People could just be trading the charts, but everyone must think that a pawn shop or banks don't take any of these. Why PulseX is looking dumb? Can PulseX even do a 2x after 1 month launch? I mean, probably just because people were trying to get PLS for gas. And I mean, it's only a couple days. Like, you have to look at these things over like a year time frame. Pawn shops will take silver, gold, diamonds, anything someone will buy in his store. And I took a Bitcoin to a pawn shop and wouldn't even look at it. Excited what Pool Party can do. Yeah, I mean, Pool Party has some awesome dynamics. I mean, the staking system on Pool Party itself could just be its own standalone certificate of deposit token and probably be massively successful. Like, so even just the Pool Party staking is great. And the hex earnings that happen like in real time, I think is an awesome dynamic too. And like that duality of yield that it gets, where you either hold it liquid and earn more hex or stake it and earn more party, that's incredible. So why does everyone care more about PLSX than PLS? I mean, it's not everyone. It's like the people that are vocal about it. It's probably just like what they loaded their bag up with. And probably, I mean, a lot more people sacrificed for PLSX, probably just because more people heard about it and had FOMO from PLS sacrifice. But I mean, PLSX does have really good dynamics too. So coin at 50, and so far it's up by $10 a share, which the IPO was over 150 a share when it came public. Yeah, so that's one of the ones I did buy on Robinhood. Just, I mean, a couple $100 at like literally all-time highs. So whatever. If Pool Party organizers were to send some team or Maximus tokens into pool address, would those be redeemed after the end stake? Thinking of ways to market and boost participation in pool. So those are not, but it wouldn't necessarily be that hard to add kind of along. And if it was to be added, it would be alongside Hedron with that thing. So maybe. We reach out a line on gas fees and Pulse. What's the reason why to spend? I feel like under 1,000 would be good at this point, but I'm scared to spend too much. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, you got to spend. It's like you got to spend what you got to spend. It's like, it just matters how bad you want it. Like, do you want your transaction to go through, or do you not need to make that trade? Are you required to claim on both chains? Yeah, you'll have to claim on both chains. You're lucky, bro. Already up 4x, and we pulse Xicans down 4x. 2.5x in hex turns, soon PX, the same price EX, so the bridge is still there. Claim is over for Poly. Yeah, Poly ended in like November or so. You can buy it though at a big discount. You get a better deal than had you joined the mint. So right now, buying Poly is like So Poly is like buying $1.1 hedron per 1 hedron plus like a couple thousand Icosa for 1 hedron. So you can buy it and you get a better deal than had you just minted. I'm waiting until gas fees die down. It'll die within a week probably. I value my PLS too much to be thrown away out of impatience. Already waited 2 years, want another couple of weeks. Well, what are you trying to do with it? But also, I mean, when the bridge opens up, well, I mean, when you look at, let's look at the Ethereum, let's look at Etherscan. Let's look at the main gas guzzlers right now. Uniswap, 1 inch, Tether, probably a MEVBot. So trading, MEVBot trading, NFTs, trading. So like out of the top 10 consumers, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what this is quickly. Okay, that's not trading. So out of the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 10 top gas consuming applications on Ethereum are trading related. Right now the bridge isn't open, and once the bridge opens up, it's going to be all types of trading on PulseX. So will they die down? I don't know. And are the, what other use cases are going to consume blocks? Which coin on PulseChain is the best value trade right now, in your opinion? Let's see. Probably Maxi. Buying a 15-year stake 1 year in, so it's already earned 30%. So each Maxi is backed by each PMaxi is backed by about 1.3 P-Hex, and it locked in at the share rate a year ago. So let's look at the share rate. So let's go to hexfire.io. So let's see. So oh, this doesn't, okay, how do we go all-time share rate? Let's go to Hex Daily Stats. So current share rate's 27K. So the share rate, let's look a year ago. So it was May 1 of 2022 when Maxi started. So back then the share rate was 21. So now it's 27. So 27 over 21. The share rate has increased by 30%. The amount that it's earned has gone up by 30%. So now buying Maxi is like staking for 14 years at a 30% smaller share rate and starting with 30% more principal. So P Maxi at 1-to-1 on Hex is the best value trade. I need help on how to stake PulseX, please. This is Rojo from Vegas. Thank you. So you go here, go to earn. So if you want to stake in this one, you can do here. And I think if I'm correct, the single-sided staking isn't active yet. So you can look at the farms to get incentive tokens, or you can, oh, here we go. Let's connect the wallet. Why gas fees so high? Oh, you guys couldn't even see what I was looking at. Just go to the PulseX DApp and then click earn and then look at those options there. I mean, just because there's demand for the blocks. Let's look at the... But it's also not that high. Let's look at the block consumption. So scan.pulsechain.com. So this one is 87% full. This one's almost empty, 98% full, 90% full, almost empty, half full, almost all the way full. I mean, it's just because, like, I mean, I bet if you looked at these blocks, let's see what's probably a whole lot of Chen minting. So this block, which was 87% full, let's see what was on it. So simple transfer, it's nothing. PLS transfer. This one was adding a liquidity position. So adding liquidity can be quite high, you know, for gas. Swap. So this person swapped hex, which, so it looks like they sold the hex and then, so that, who did it send to? So PulseX LP. So it sent to the PulseX LP, some rep pulse, sent to the PulseX LP, some ink. It sent, and then it sent to the user some PLSX. This person transferred X for PLSX. So that includes, I mean, look at those, like those transfers. So that's gas. Every single step in this thing consumes gas. So imagine when there's more stuff on the bridge. So just transfer. Looks like someone did some Chen stuff, minting an NFT. Another swap on the, okay, that one failed. This person swapped some wrap pulse for PulseX. Approval, not much gas. Simple transfer, not much gas. Approve, not much gas. Swap, a little bit of gas. Approve, not so much gas. Simple transfer. So, I mean, this one didn't really, I mean, this was 87% full. And let's see how much gas that this P, Chen, T, see how much gas they used. So there's this for, let's see, gas limit 25 million. Yeah, so I mean, this user alone used the majority of the gas. So yeah, I mean, it literally comes down to like whatever this Chen torrent minting thing did. It like, that's why the gas is high, is because like there's, you know, you just grab any random block. Let's see what this one, those 99% full. Let's peek the transactions. That's odd. Huh. I don't know what this one indicates, because this one indicates that it's full, but also there's no transactions on here. So I don't know. Tell Goku to pull up. Shit, he should. Think we get what we've been waiting for in the next hour? I don't know. It'll be cool. See if there's any indication on Twitter. Oh Lord, got a minute ago. Nice little buy order. Okay, so I don't think that, I don't know if it's out yet. How to see SAC pulls from Nexus wallet? I'm not sure. Just paste your address into the SAC checker. Tried sending yourself 0 pulls, but I believe that you have to start from the original nonce when you have multiple transactions. You can't see the original failed nonce. So you can set a new nonce that you know is just much higher. So like do something like make the nonce like 100 or something. I don't. But I let me see if I can find what Richard said. Do you know what'd be cool? An airdrop token to all of the users that Richard Hart follows. Wouldn't that be funny? So here, try this. Don't get scammed, please. Since the block explorer doesn't show fail, yeah. Do you like Bitcoin? I already answered that. Should I hold Hex or USDC for the bridge? I mean, whatever you were going to bridge in. Yeah, so that's one way to do it. They should have the button. Let's see. Stop max with that cash slash base. Let's connect. So look at this. I actually need to add. I added it for team, but I need to go in and add the PulseChain support for those, and so that'll do that. But you can use the tool that Richard has on the sacrifice checker to add your tokens. So that's one way to do it. Dipcatcher, are you able to simulate days passing a local hard testnet for testing a 1-year stake pool period? Yeah, I did it, and I showed how I did it in. I have some tweets about it. Let's see. Let me just pull it up here. Yeah, so I have done that for base. I mean, for all of my, I've tested it. So, yeah. So you that's exactly how you could do it yourself. If you were to do it yourself, actually, you fast forward. So you fork the mainnet using this link. Fast forward blocks on your dev fork to the date the stake ends. You have to run the functions on the hex like basically the update daily stats to make it act as if hex stuff had happened every day, and then you end the pool and it works. So if I poly, does that get me included in the pool I drop? Yes. Sorry, if you think this is already asked, but you legit think that future gas fees might price out small players? Yes. Like it's already happening. It's already been happening, and I don't expect gas fees to go down. Like gas fees could potentially be mitigated for layer 2s, but Hex itself, because it's immutable, can't move to a layer 2. So, you know, like it always has to write to the main net. So, yeah, like that's why I'm so frantic about these stake pools, because like I don't want new users to have to cover the gas fee on their own. So, yes. Beacon gas now shows 1 to 2. Let's see. It's at like 4 million. Pepe best value. This looks like good value also on PulseChain. Can't see your screen, sorry. So far behind the chat. Is E-Hex gonna dump post bridge? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it kind of already did. So that was like the pricing in of everything. Also, what do you put your limit at when providing LP on PLSX? Can you explain the spending cap when providing liquidity on PulseX? So I haven't added liquidity on that pair, so or in general at all. I haven't added liquidity, so perhaps someone else can have a better answer on that than me. Use the PulseChain PRC token scanner for locating your copies from ETH. Works like a charm. Yeah. 7-month-old Maximus is going to be a big brother. Oh my gosh! Congratulations, name. That is amazing. Congratulations. That is so exciting. Second child of Maximus. Well done, dude. That's truly amazing. All right, so I got to the bottom of the chat. So why don't we leave with that? Let's all give Name a big congratulations. Doing the Lord's work. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Been on stream for almost 2.5 hours. A lot of fun. We'll keep this up soon. I finally got my stream set up back in action. And we'll keep rocking and rolling, you guys. Thanks for joining me today. Follow me on Twitter, Tonto Nomini. Do not fall for scammers. Have fun on PulseChain. Keep looking out for this bridge. And until then, we'll talk to you all soon. Congrats, congrats, congrats. Stream going to be saved? Yeah, I mean, it's broadcast on YouTube, so it'll be on YouTube. All right, you guys. Have fun, everyone.